morning, I'm Lucy Rigby and I'm Lincoln Labour's candidate to be Lincoln's next MP.
Welcome to the Lincolnite, Lucy. Let's kick off with housing and development. As you know, it's a really important issue to voters here. There are more than 3,000 people on the City Council waiting list and there's a general shortage of housing in Lincoln.
Yeah.
How would you address that?
Housing is a massive problem, you're absolutely right, here in Lincoln and nationally as well. Not least because we've had the lowest level of house building in this country since the 1920s. It's a huge issue and it comes up again and again on the doorstep or over the phones whenever we talk to people. There's a whole host of things that we need to do. The main thing is building more houses, simple as that. So Labour's plan is to build 200,000 more homes a year, every year until 2020. So we address some of the housing supply problem that we have. We need to be building more affordable homes so we can get more first-time buyers on the housing ladder. But it is also, you refer to the waiting list here, it's about social housing as well. Happily, the City Council have been building some social housing. They're going to be building more next year, hopefully, and the year after as well. But it's not, I don't think it's on the scale that they would like, and that, is, I'm sure you know, in large part down to the kind of funding arrangements that they've had from central government. So building more houses, we need to be ensuring that we get more people onto the housing ladder, and this dream of owning your own home isn't completely unobtainable. I think the statistic is something like you have to save for 25 years, something like that, if you're on an average income, to be able to save up enough for a deposit. So that's pretty unattainable for a whole number of people. I think the other thing that's really important is, you talk about housing, we need to sort out the private rental market, and that is huge here in Lincoln because we've got a growing number of people who are private renting, and that is set, if you look at the projections, it's set to shoot up even more. So we need to crack down on rogue landlords with things like a register of landlords. We need to give people more secure tenancies if they want them, the option of a 3-year tenancy. We need to stop things like whacking great rent rises in the middle of the tenancy, so there needs to be some kind of sensible ceiling on that. And also, you'll know about letting agent fees. Letting agents often charge an awful lot. We did a survey here actually, and we found that some households of younger people, students actually I think, were being charged over £1,000. It was £1,074 per household, just for the purposes of getting their lease sorted out. So Labour would ban letting agent fees altogether.
Okay, let's move on to the business and the economy then, another really important issue to voters in Lincoln. What measures would you implement to help businesses grow and prosper in the city, sort of addressing the skills gap on one hand and ensuring that workers are paid a decent wage on the other?
Yeah, well, there's so much to say there, really. I'll do my best to kind of condense it down. The first thing to say is that we've got some amazing large, medium-sized and small businesses here in Lincoln, and I'm particularly passionate about the small businesses, our local small businesses that we have here. They're kind of the engine room of our local economy, and really important. So how do we encourage businesses, large, small, medium-sized, to thrive in Lincoln? I think small businesses have been finding that business rates are an increasing part of their outgoings. So Labour would cut and freeze business rates for all small businesses. I think that would have a very positive impact here in Lincoln. We also need to, you referred to the skills gap. It's unbelievably important that the businesses that we have here in Lincoln find the skills that they need within the local people that we have here in Lincoln. So you take Frankie, for example. I was there just the other day. One of the reasons that they've just invested £50 million here at the site in Lincoln. They're going to have their R&D site here. Now they're high quality, really decent wage, high skill jobs. They're exactly the kind of jobs that we want more of in our city. One of the reasons that they chose to invest in Lincoln was because of our skilled workforce. We've got some great things happening in Lincoln, particularly in relation to engineering, the hookup between the university and Siemens with our School of Engineering. Now that is unique around the country. I want to see us build on that and become a centre of excellence for engineering, more of a centre of excellence I should say, because I think I would say that we are already. And create more decent pay, high skill jobs in the city to the benefit of all of us.
Okay. Let's move on to schools and higher education then. Lincoln has not one but two fantastic universities.
Indeed.
Do you think it's right for most students today though to start their working life with at least £27,000 worth of debt? That doesn't take into account accommodation and living costs.
Yes, yeah, I mean, we speak to groups of students all the time. We've got a particularly active Lincoln Labour Students Club at the university here. We were up with Evelyn Band at Bishop Grosser Test just last week. When you speak to students, they say that the fees are a problem because they have this millstone, as you say, at least £27,000, kind of this millstone around their neck when they leave university. I don't think that's right. I don't feel like it's I suppose morally right, for want of a better word, but also it doesn't make financial sense either. I mean, the figures show that actually 75% of current students will never pay back their loan. So that just kind of leaves a massive black hole of debt really in our national finances. So it doesn't work financially at all. The other thing that students say is about their grants. It's the money that they have to live on, which obviously lots of people across the city have been finding living costs going up, and students are included within that. So Labour would like to bring tuition fees down to £6,000. It's not, and I feel like if you add that up across the 3 years, that will make a substantial difference to the amount of debt that students have after university. But we also want to address the grant situation. So half of students in the country will receive an increase in their grant. I think it's about £400 a year. That stuff is really, really important. And as I said, it makes financial sense. And the other thing I should add on this, really, really important, that universities like ours here won't be losing out in funding because Labour's plan is fully funded. So we're going to take money from reducing the amount of pension tax relief and make sure that we plug the gap in university funding.
Why not reduce tuition fees back to what they were in 2010 when you were last in office? They stood at £3,000 then.
Yeah, look, I can't deny that, speaking personally, I would like to be reducing the cost of education because I think education is a public good. I'd like to be reducing it more less than the £6,000. But this is all a question of money. So what we've said is that, I said to you that Labour's plan is fully funded, and that money to plug the funding gap to go to the universities is going to come from reducing pension tax relief. Now, if we were to reduce fees down even lower, kind of put the cap lower, then we would have to find the money somewhere. And I think, to be honest with you, anyone that forms a government after May has got to be realistic about the state of the country's finances, and these things are about priorities, and I'm really pleased that Labour have prioritised reducing the burden of debt for students.
Okay. Let's have a look at the NHS then. It's obviously an issue which is close to the Labour Party's heart, but pressure on NHS services in Lincoln and Lincolnshire has caused us plunged ULH team to black alert over the winter. It's only just come out of special measures, and the Trust has paid out more than £30 million in negligence compensation. How would you address these issues?
Well, you're absolutely right that the NHS is close to the Labour Party's heart. It's very close to my heart personally. When you speak to people across the city, as we do, and I've been the candidate for over 3 years now, so we've been speaking to people kind of week in, week out, really, for over 3 years, you realise that by far the biggest issue at this election is the health service. That's the thing that people want to talk about, it's the thing that they're concerned about, and that's all facets of that, of the health service. So GP appointments is something that people are really concerned about, not being able to get the appointment when they want. As you say, we've had issues locally with County Hospital. The black alert situation over the Christmas period was pretty dreadful. Nurses being asked to cancel Christmas leave, I remember as well. And you talk to staff up at County Hospital, and they will tell you that they are really, really stretched. Nurses often don't have time to, so they tell me anyway, time to do the job that they want to do, their job of actually caring for patients. And when you're working kind of a 12-hour or longer shift and you're not having your time for breaks and things like that, you get home, and I can imagine that's incredibly stressful. So there's a whole range of problems with the health service. Now, the first thing to sort out is the GP appointments. So we're going to bring back the 48-hour GP appointment guarantee. So you can get a GP appointment within 48 hours of calling or sooner if you need it. Now the important thing about that is that it reduces the pressure on A&Es. You know, we've had a A&E crisis at County Hospital, more and more people not being able to see staff within a 4-hour kind of window. That's the case across the country, of course, as well, not just here in Lincoln. So you sort out the GP appointments. That takes some of the pressure off A&E. We also just need, it's relatively simple. We need more nurses, we need more doctors, we need more home care workers, we need more midwives, and we need to join up health and social care. So people have one point of contact and they have care from kind of from home to hospital and back again. It's really, really important that we do that stuff.
Let's finish off with the much talked about Eastern Bypass. I think most people agree there's a need for it to be built, but should it be dualled and should it cut off Hawthorne Road?
How long have people been talking about Eastern Bypass now?
A very long time.
Exactly, a very long time. Longer than I've been alive, in fact. And, I'm not that young, because I think we've been talking about it for 40, 50 years, something like that. We need to see the Eastern Bypass, basically ASAP. Should it be dualled? I think, actually, that all bypasses, ideally, should be dualled. They should be dualled in the plans, and they should be dualled, when it comes to the construction. The situation that we have here in Lincoln, we did have the plans for a dual bypass prior to 2010. The plans were then gone down to a single carriageway. That is what is on the cards at the moment, a single carriageway. That is what we had the first public inquiry about. Now, unfortunately, we're having a second one as well. So I think if you now start jumping up and down and saying we want it dualled, I think you actually put the likelihood of the Eastern Bypass back. I think you put the timescale way back, when you'd have to go through the whole process again. I think there's a real demand for the Eastern Bypass now. It's got to be sooner rather than later. So, and as I understand it, the way that it would be built would be such as to be able to facilitate the dualling of it at a later stage. As I said, I think all bypasses ideally should be dualled right from the word go. That isn't what's being presented to us here in Lincoln. And look, actually, I agree with, it might surprise you to know, but I agree with the County Council, in fact the Conservative portfolio holder on this. And he says what's on the cards is a single carriageway, and I don't want to see the whole thing pushed back yet again by this dualling thing.
Hey Lucy Rigby, thank you for your time.
Pleasure. I want people to vote for me to be Lincoln's Member of Parliament, because I'll work incredibly hard, and I will be a competent and a fair representative of our city. I think Lincoln is unique. It's a wonderful, wonderful place to live. I want to see it develop into an even better city to live. I think Lincoln needs a champion. It needs someone who's going to stand up and fight for our public services, efficient and effective public services, and greater private sector business investment too, and I'll do that.